guys, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning in today here at Elevate Church. We know that today's message is going to rock your world and elevate you to the next level in your life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the message.
Listen, there's so much to learn about this. For example, let's just start with this. You know what? The Grinch wasn't born being the Grinch. Everybody has a story. Every single one of us have had some form of experience in our life, some form of pain, some form of struggle, some form of addiction, something that came to steal, kill, and destroy us. And that's what happened when you look at the Grinch. Just look at the story. He's a child and he was bullied. He was mistreated. He was looked down upon. And then what begins to happen, he begins to develop this offense. He begins to develop this anger, this anxiety, this sense of hopelessness, darkness. And then he becomes the very thing that his environment created for him. And many of us, we can be like the Whovilles. We can be like the Who's because you know what? In the story, if you watch the movie, which I encourage you, the mayor gets really upset because Mary Lou invites the Grinch to come be a part of this big celebration. And then what happens is, of course, they start embarrassing him all over again. Here he was going to give them a try, but they start all over again. He begins to remember all of the past, and then he decides, you know what? I'm going to steal Christmas from them. And so he goes into the town, he steals all the gifts, and he steals all the decorations, which is everything the people work hard for. Think about this. Mary Lou is living in a community, called Whoville, who forgot the meaning of Christmas. All they made it was on competition. Everything was competition. Who had the best house, the best decor, who had the most gifts. Watch the movie. It was all about the gifts. And I begin to think about us here today. If you go to the malls, nothing wrong with shopping, buying stuff, but here's the reality. I think sometimes even we Christians, we forget the meaning of what this is all about. God said, I so love the world that I sent my son, Jesus. He sent us the greatest gift, and it's almost like we've replaced the greatest gift with a whole bunch of gifts. It's true. And I get it. We get busy. We get busy with shopping. We get busy with life. We get busy with stuff. We get busy with planning all our vacations. But at the end of all this, did we give back to God the true value, the true meaning of this season? And so we know in this story, after the father hears the mayor blaming Cindy Lou, his little girl, he gets really upset. He says, well, see, the father never had a backbone until he finally got sick of it. He said, no, you know what? My daughter's right. We're all wrong. And he begins to explain, we've made Christmas everything but about people. We've made it about gifts. We made it about lights. We've made it about competition. And then everybody else starts hearing the father. And then the father kind of rallies the whole people. And then they all start saying, you know what, he's right. And you know what happens? All of a sudden, this song comes out of them and they just begin to sing. And they say, you know what, Christmas is not about all that stuff. It's about togetherness. It's about unity. It's about coming back as a family. And they all begin to sing this beautiful song. And here you have Scrooge way up in that dark cave. You have the Grinch, thank you. And he's right there listening to them sing. And he's flipping out. He's thinking, my God, I just did everything to possibly ruin their Christmas. And they're all singing. And that's when all of a sudden his heart begins to just grow 3 times bigger than his original heart. He's touched, and then he says, maybe this is all true. You see, we are one person. We are one person. I'm one person. I'm one person that can make a difference this Christmas. It took one little girl to change the course of an entire town. It takes one person to say, hey, you know what, let's just stop. We're just busy again. Look, even like church, do you just make church a task thing and it's just kind of like, okay, let's get that off the list, okay, we feel better and we just keep going with our life. We're 1 week away from Christmas. Literally, 1 week. And we can impact someone. We can reach someone. We can love someone. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what Jesus thinks about this, because you know what? There was a time where Jesus is talking to his disciples, but also the Pharisees, the religious people. okay? Because you know what? Without knowing, you can be religious. You know what religion is? It's just doing the same traditional thing over and over again. Christmas can be the same traditional thing. You know, gifts, decor, family, friends, hang out, party, all that. And where was the true meaning of restoration, reconciliation, redemption? Where is that? Because that's the ministry that Jesus said, now I give you the ministry of reconciliation. Bring people back to God. This is the meaning of Christmas. But Jesus is realizing that, wait a minute, everyone here is kind of lost. And look what he says. And I love this because you know what? When you read the Bible, he loves to include you and me. He really wants to find out what's really in our wallet or in our heart, right? He really does. He wants to include you. He loves to ask questions in the Bible because he really wants a response from you. So I hope that you would respond today. Look at this. Are you guys ready? Okay. Go with me to Matthew 18. Matthew 18. Because you know what? All of us can be distracted, okay? We can all fall victim of distraction. We can all fall victim of being so consumed with trying to find the perfect tree, the perfect meal, the perfect vacation, and I get it. Nothing wrong with that, but if that's all our Christmas is about, then we've missed the whole meaning of it, even as believers, as good Christians. Now watch this. And so Jesus, he thinks about the who's, which are you and me, but he also thinks about the Grinch, and look what he says. He says, what do you think? Everybody say, what do you think? He's asking, this is Jesus in the red, guys. He's asking a question. He really wants to know what you think. He says, what do you think, Mauricio? Suppose a man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away. Won't he leave the 99 sheep on the hills? Won't he go and look for the one that wandered off? What I'm about to tell you is what? True. He says, if he finds that sheep, he is happier about the one than about the 99 that didn't wander off. Now, is he saying that I don't care about the 99? Is he saying that I have no purpose for the 99? Or you know what, the 99 can take care of themselves? No, he knows that the 99 are cool. They're good. You're good. You guys, I've been taking care of you. I've been looking after you. I've been providing for you. I've been allowing you to experience my presence, but there's one that's walked away. And he says, and isn't it important for us to realize that sometimes you have to leave the 99 in order to go back for the one? See, that was the story here with Grinch. You see, all the 99 hung out with each other, and nobody thought about the one but one little girl named Mary Lou. It takes one person to cause a revival. It takes one person to change the course of someone's life. One person. But as we keep reading, you'll realize what's happening here. He says, what I'm about to tell you is the truth. Okay, verse 14. It is the same with your Father in heaven. He does not want any of these little ones to die. And so in other words, here's what he's saying. He could have said, I don't want anyone to be lost. He didn't use the word lost. He could have said, I don't want anyone to be broken. Okay, because God cares about broken people. He says, I don't want anyone to die. And it's so interesting that he uses this word die. And I know that in this season, there are times where we experience so much pain, whether it's you or someone that you know, like when you see them, let's say a coworker. Have you ever met the coworker from hell that nobody likes? Have you ever met the family member from hell that always causes problems? Have you ever met the neighbor from hell on steroids who always has an issue? But have you ever asked yourself, I wonder who they were before they became this? It's kind of like the homeless people. I love talking to the homeless people because I always see them and I know we see with what we see in the present, but have you ever stopped and said, I wonder what their story is? Because they haven't always been homeless or a bum or an alcoholic or a drug addict or a prostitute. They haven't always been whatever it is. And let's not just take, lives that are just so far gone with addictions. How about just even great people, nice people, hardworking people that have lost their way? I wonder what happened to them. It happens to all of us. Every single one of us. But there's a God in heaven who loved you so much that he sent his son Jesus on this season for the purpose of redemption, reconciliation, and restoration. That was his sole purpose. Everything else is what man has created as tradition, and then we get lost in our own stuff. And look, and so he uses this word die. See, I want to challenge us. We're 1 week away, guys. Yes, I get it. We got to go shopping. We got to go find the best toy for our kids. We got to go find the best toys for our family, even us grown-ups. We like toys. I get that. But will there be any marking in your life, in my life this week, that I actually made it about the reason for this season? Like, will there be any evidence? Once Christmas Day's over, it's over. It's done. And you either meant and intentionally went for it for the reason of the season, which is to bring life so that there would not be death. For example, last Christmas, a man was brought here by someone who received Jesus on Christmas Day and died on Christmas Day. Received Christ in this church, and on the same day was killed. You see, there was a who that was willing to go to a broken guy and was willing to bring him on Christmas Day, who gave his life, cried, spoke to me, expressed how much love he felt in this place, and on that same day, in the evening, was killed. If not you, then who? Or will we just get all caught up in the wrapping and the trimming and all that, which is cool? Do it. But not at the expense of people that you and I know right now that probably would not step foot in a church on any regular Sunday, but on Christmas and Easter, everybody comes out. Everybody. This is your opportunity. This is my opportunity. This is our opportunity to be the church. Can we keep talking? I'm almost done, I promise you. Sermon's almost over. Don't get tired on me. So Jesus begins to take a story in the Bible. That's why I'm using movies, because you know what? Hollywood has nothing on the Word of God. I'm going to take you there. Look at this. Mark chapter 5. Look at this. I am convinced that Hollywood took Grinch from this verse. I'm convinced. You guys want me to prove it to you? This is where it came from. Watch. A lot of feedback. Come on, guys. Mark chapter 5, verse 1. It says then, look at this. This is Jesus. It says, they went across the what? Sea of what? Galilee, to the area of the Gerasenes. Now, mind you, Jesus went across the sea. We read that and we're like, well, isn't that cute? We're probably thinking, yeah, he probably had a ski boat, huh? No, this is row your boat. This is Jesus went across the sea, which is the Sea of Galilee. It's not really a sea. It's a huge lake. I have been on it. I have swimmed in it. It's huge. I mean, it really does look like a sea. It actually feels like a sea. But you know why? Because there's wind and waves in the Sea of Galilee. It's crazy. It's huge. So I could only imagine, the effort that Jesus put in to go to the other side. He had to put in some work. And look what it says. And so Jesus got out of the what? Come on, we need to get out of our comfort. Get out of the boat. He says he got out of the boat, and a man controlled by an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. So this demon-possessed guy, he's coming out of the tombs. Do you know what a tomb is in these days? It's not a trick question. What's a tomb? Nope. It's a what? A grave. This man was forgotten so bad by people that they allowed him to be in a cave. Tombs represent cemeteries. Tombs represent darkness. Tombs represent hopelessness. Are you in a tomb? Because if you are, Jesus knows how to get you out. He knows how to call you out of the tomb. That's what Christmas is about. It's bringing people out of hopelessness, bringing people out of despair, bringing people out of darkness, and he brings you back into light. And so the man comes out, like a madman, not realizing he's about to get rocked. Came out from the tombs to meet him. The man lived. He what? Lived. That's kind of like the Grinch. He lived in what? A cave, a tomb. He lived in the tombs, and no one could keep him tied up anymore. Can anybody control the Grinch? Can anybody control this guy? Kind of sounds like the Grinch. Hollywood just jacks stuff from the Bible, huh? They should be paying back residuals, huh? Not even a chain could hold him. It says his hands and feet had often been chained, but he tore the chains apart. And I love how this scripture just defines how we can be so chained with stuff, how we can be so bound by stuff. But let me tell you something, but Jesus is boundless. And he says, and he broke the iron cuffs on his ankles, and no one was strong enough to control him. You know what? You may be looking at people to be your strength, but they can't even control you. You know who we need is we need Jesus, because he's the only one that has the strength to break chains. And not only break them, he's the only one that has the power to deliver us. Now, you may say, well, Pastor, how does that apply to me? I'm not possessed by some evil spirit. Yeah, but can you be possessed by possessions? Can you be possessed by guilt right now? Can you be possessed by shame? Condemnation? Can you be possessed by guilt? Can you be possessed by fear? Can you be possessed by fear of your future? Can you be possessed? Listen, there's nothing wrong with possessions until they possess you. Get all the money you want. Just don't let it possess you. Once it possesses you, you're possessed. Now let me see all my possessed people in the house. Just wave your hands in the air. No one's going to do it. I know. I wouldn't do it either. What verse am I on? 5. Look at this. Night and day, he screamed among the tombs and the hills. He cut himself with stones. Have you ever felt torment night and day? Have you ever felt lonely night and day? Have you ever felt a sense of despair night and day? Have you ever felt like screaming? He's tormented. And the scripture says that he begins to cut himself. Do you know that's a big popular thing with youth today now? Cutting. You guys ever heard the term cutting? That's big in elementary now. Elementary. Kids are cutting. You know the purpose of cutting? You know, I've had to sit with youth that cut. Parents, always check your kids' arms. Don't let them say they're scratches. It's cutting. You know why people cut? They cut because there's a sense of relief of the stuff that's happening inside. It's self-mutilation. The pain is so unbearable inside that I have to feel pain again just to realize that I'm still alive. You can be numb on the inside, and the only thing you have to do is to create some kind of pain to tell me that I'm still here. You can be present in body but absent in spirit. And so they start cutting, and it's crazy because you know what? Jesus is willing to meet this guy anywhere, and we think about all the stories that Jesus shares, but this is one that is just so awesome, and it's so clear because if you look at Mark one chapter before, here's the question. Okay, what happened before Jesus actually crossed to the other side? You guys want to know what happened before? Because you know what? There's always a before to your destination. Always. And so look at before, Mark chapter 4. This is right before what happens in Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 41. Now look. When evening came, Jesus said to who? He says, let's go to what? The other side. Okay, so he's basically telling them, hey, listen, we're hanging here. It's time to go. Let's go to the other side. Look at this, of the lake. They left what behind? They left the crowd. You know what that says to me? This is the perfect example of the verse that he was teaching them. You're going to leave the 99 for the one. We're leaving the crowds for one. I think most of us, we just like our crowds. We're possessed by our... It's easy to love people who love you. It's harder to love people who are unlovely. And so Jesus says, hey, let's go. We're going to change this. And so they left the crowd behind and they took him along in a boat just as he was. It says there were also other boats with him. A wild storm came up. Waves crashed over the boat. It was about to sink. Have you ever tried to reach that family member and then all of a sudden things go wild? Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide that you want to follow God, everything gets in the way of that? Have you noticed the moment you say, I'm going to stop, it gets harder? There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. See, the question is Jesus is teaching us, when will you break the barrier? Because until you break the barrier, you'll always quit. Let's keep reading. Look. So a wild storm came up. Why does he share all this? Because he says when you allow life to get you distracted, and we'll read, you stop going. And so the waves crashed over the boat, the winds, the boat was about to sink. Jesus was back in the back. He was sleeping on a cushion. In other words, he was taking a nap. This isn't moving him. And the disciples both came up, and I love this. They said, teacher, don't you even care about us anymore? But not realizing that Jesus was about to teach them the greatest teaching and principle about caring enough for someone that you'd be willing to cross over a sea to reach one. To reach one. And so he got up and he ordered the wind to stop, and he said to the waves, quiet, be still. Then the wind died. That's the only thing he wants to kill, right, is the winds and the waves. They died right there on the spot. And it was completely calm. And he said to the disciples, why are you so afraid? Don't you have any faith at all yet? Like, what's wrong with you? In other words, you know what? It's so interesting how, you know what, we preach faith, we live faith, we declare faith, but when it gets tough, when you have that family member or that coworker or that friend that just does not want to know anything about Christ, we say, you know what, forget them. Let me go to the next one, which nothing wrong with going to the next one and the next one, but we can't forget that there's something that happened to that Grinch. And that little girl, Mary Lou, she didn't give up. If you watch the movie, he threw her down the chute of a trash can and she still came back up. Have you quit? Maybe, listen, let's flip it on you. Maybe you're the Grinch. Maybe you've stopped caring. Maybe you're the one that's isolating. Or maybe you're Mary Lou. I'm going to go, Pastor. I'm going to do this thing. I got 1 week. I'm going to bring Christmas back to its truest meaning. You know what I'm saying? And so he said to the disciples, man, why are you so afraid? And they were all terrified. And they asked each other, who is this? That even the wind and the waves obey him. You know what? Let me tell you something. This was not a demonic moment, okay? Because sometimes some of us are we're looking for demons. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. We're looking for all kinds of stuff. And you know what? Let me tell you something. A lot of times we're dealing with physical elements, not spiritual ones. For example, the scripture says, I know, right? I make you want to cough now, huh? For example, you know what? It didn't say, and demons and a devil with a pitchfork rose up and scared the daylights out of the disciples. No, there were physical elements. It was water. It was water beating. It was winds blowing that brought them terror. Let me tell you something. They're meant to distract us. There are things that are physical elements that are distracting you and me, that we have to call what it is. And we have to begin to use our faith to speak to whatever it is that is distracting me from getting to the other side who needs a who. Because if it's not you, exactly. If it's not you, then who? Oh, somebody else will get them. Oh, somebody else will share Jesus with them. What if you were the only who that was born to bring them to Christ? Like the guy. Exactly 1 year, this Christmas Day will be 1 year that he went home to be with the Lord. He received Christ on Christmas Day and opened his eyes in heaven on Christmas Day. Wow. The reason we don't think like this very much is because we're too distracted with the winds and the waves. We're consumed with self. We're consumed with what do I get? You know, where's my life going? And nothing wrong with that stuff. Once again, enjoy life, live life, have fun with life. But at the expense of not reaching people, no, we will be consumed with ourself. Let me read you one more verse. One more verse. Say with me, if not you, then who? Think about it. Everyone in this community, just like the Grinch, okay? All the Whoville people, they forgot about this guy. Well, so did these people here in this town. They fled in terror anytime he would come around. They trembled in their houses every time they heard the sound of this man screaming. They told their children and warned them, beware of the crazy man, probably. Stay away from that psycho. Everyone avoided this man. Everyone but who? Jesus. That amazing. That he would leave the crowd to go over for one demon-possessed man. You see, it's always in the going. When you finally decide, you know what, this week I will reach someone, is when the winds and the waves start. And the focus is back on who? You. The question is will you faith through the winds? Will you faith through the waves and the winds in order to reach the other side? Because on the other side of your stuff is someone in a tomb who needs life. Jesus didn't avoid this man. He actually made a special trip across the Sea of Galilee for just one person. What love. Now let me read you the last verse and we're done. Stand to your feet. In Mark chapter 5, let me read this to you. In verse 18, watch this. So the man is healed already, right? You see that man in that cave? If you really think about it, he was someone's son. He was someone's probably husband, maybe someone's father. You see, that guy was probably someone's friend. Maybe a coworker. I mean, just think about it. Maybe just someone that someone knew about. And then Jesus shows up on the scene. Never lose hope on people, guys. No matter how hopeless they may seem. You can't lose hope in people. Jesus didn't lose hope in you. It says in Mark 5, last verse, I'm done. It says Jesus was getting into the boat. So he's now leaving, the guy's healed. He's getting into his boat with his crew. because he came in many boats. And the man who had been controlled by demons, he begged him to go with him. So can you imagine, like, please, please. I mean, this guy is now free. He is liberated. Man, he is reconciled back with the Father. He's back in his sound mind. And he's like, oh my God, all I want to do is just serve you, Jesus. Let me go with you. And look at what Jesus says to him. Hey, listen. He said to him, go where? What home? The tomb? Because he lived in a tomb. So was he saying go back into your tomb? No, he said go where? Go to your home. That means he had a family. He says go home to your own people. In other words, that's not who you are. That's who you were. You're a new man now. Go back home and get with your people. And I want you to what? Tell them. I want you to tell them how much the Lord has done for who? You. For who? If not you, then tell them how kind he has been to you. Have you told anyone this season how kind he's been to you? Are you desperate to get on the boat with him? Because if you are, then he'll say, okay, now go and tell them how good I've been to you. Go tell them. Tell them how kind I've been to you. Tell them how generous I've been to you. Tell them how forgiving I've been to you. Tell them. Tell them how special I've treated you. Tell them how far I went just to get you back. Tell them. Jesus crossed all kinds of stuff, winds and waves to get to who? You. Me. Well, we know that at the end of the story, Mary Lou is excited. They get there. He's now happy, and he asks for forgiveness. Can we give people a chance to ask for forgiveness? Or are we going to crucify them? And he comes back and he apologizes. He returns everything. And then we know the stories that he cuts. They call it not the roast beef, but the roast beast. And they all come back together, and it's a great story. It's a story of redemption. Father, I thank you that as we leave here today, that we would have that ministry of reconciliation, God. I pray that you would help us to be the kind of people that really do care and that are willing to go across any street, any office, any supermarket aisle. We're willing to go across for another person who needs you. Jesus, help us. Give us the strength we need to be the people you've called us to be.
If today's message impacted you in any way and you would like to help us spread the gospel to others by giving a financial gift, please text the number below. And we know that someone's life will be changed as yours was today.